Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. My name is Kiki, and I am here with our guest expert, Leslie Vitale. Leslie, so excited that you are
Hi.
joining us once again.
Hi, Kiki. Hello, everyone. So happy to be here with you all today.
And as you guys know, if you've been tuning in month to month, we've brought Leslie on to run this guest expert series as she is really an expert when it comes to if you are a health coach, but you feel like you need a little bit of support when it comes to the business side of things. That's really where Leslie can lend a hand. And in today's topic, we're actually, Leslie, you're going to be sharing all about creating and selling successful online courses. Now, this is something that used to be, I almost feel like a little bit taboo, but ever since COVID, the idea of, doing an online course, doing an online program, not only are practitioners feeling more comfortable with it, but so is everyone else. I mean, we've all had to learn how to use Zoom and et cetera, et cetera. So curious to know why you wanted to pick this topic in particular.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, so many people are asking me about, how do I successfully not only create a course, but how do I fill it? How do I market and sell it? So again, I think that post-COVID, especially, it really makes sense. People are more comfortable on using online platforms. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing that we are realizing is, a healthy business, really the very definition of a healthy business, it has multiple revenue streams, right? I think this is something that became very apparent coming out of COVID as well. So it's super important to have multiple income streams if at all possible. And actually, the third big reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is really connected to the fact that if you're in the one-on-one model, working with clients exclusively in that one-to-one model, which many of us do, right? I can't deny it's a great way to work with clients. You can help your clients really to move forward and achieve their really big goals, and it's so gratifying. The thing of it is eventually, as you get busier and busier, you are going to run out of hours to sell, right? Your day is going to be filled up. And in order to continue to grow your business, we have to look for additional ways to do that. Quite often, we might even reach somewhat of a ceiling in terms of what we can charge for our services. So, in those cases, it really makes sense to maybe not, ditch the one-on-ones. What I'm actually suggesting is to add some leverage income into the mix, right? Leverage income meaning where you're serving many people in any given hour versus strictly the one-on-one relationship. So there's lots of reasons. I think many of us enjoy some variety in our day as well. And we just simply want to serve more people. And this allows you to do that at potentially a lower price point than what you would charge for one-on-one services.
And I would imagine for some clients, that sometimes money, they just don't have the means at that time to work with you one-on-one. So rather than just kind of being like, okay, well, let's circle back when you can, it is nice to give them something versus just like a little, okay, well, like here's a freebie that like may or may not, you know what I mean, move the needle, whereas a course kind of can. So
Yeah.
yeah, looking forward to that.
It's actually, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Kiki, because it can be very powerful. So I talk in my work a lot about sales funnels, right? Which is just kind of a fancy way of saying, how you're going to move your target market through those steps from getting, just simply getting to know about your work to really developing the relationship all the way to them becoming paying clients or customers. And I think that we can look at, even a course, offering a course as a sales funnel in of itself, right? Because there's always going to be people as a result of participating in your course, they're going to get to know you better. They're going to get like, wow, this is so great. I want more. And so that in of itself can lead to more higher end private clients.
Yeah.
So it is a great option to have in your back pocket.
Love it. Let's get to the keys.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so today, guys, I'm going to share the 5 critical keys for creating and selling your successful online course. And I'm even going to share one of my favorite tips, and that is how to get paid, literally how to get paid to create your home study course, right? So we're going to talk about 5 of my favorite tips. So let's start with the first one. This one's really important as a starting point, and that is you want to make absolutely sure that you know what your audience wants. Okay. The reason this is so important is because quite often, we've got all these great ideas. We come from a little different perspective, though, typically. We know what they need, right? Chances are we know what they need to be successful, but we don't always know what they want and what they are willing to invest in, right? And so that's really the difference. So it might sound obvious, but it is amazing how many coaches and practitioners out there, they believe they know what their audience is looking for and they create a course. And what tends to happen, unless they've done some due diligence, is quite often no one's ends up buying, right? You can have the most amazing award-winning course, like the most amazing course in the whole universe, but if no one buys it, that obviously that's not what we're after. So the first tip that's really important is do your homework. Do some market research, do some polling, maybe visit some Facebook groups, get a sense of what people are asking for most often. You can do like a Google survey, and I can share with you that in the fall, I did just that. I put together a pretty in-depth survey because I was in the process. I had this great idea and I thought it would sell, but I wanted to make sure because it takes time and resources to actually create a course and launch it successfully. And so you just want to make sure that, whatever you're thinking is going to be, really helpful is actually something that your target market is willing to invest in.
Mm. And sometimes it might even be that those two offerings are very similar. It's just in the way that you describe it, right?
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I mean, that's such a great point. Yeah, sometimes it's not like a huge disparity between the couple of concepts, what you think they need and what they actually want. But in order to
Mhm.
attract them, you really want to mirror the language that they are using, right? Because, I mean, that's tried and true. That's like what they are saying they really need and want. And one thing I will add to this particular part of our conversation is you really want to try to identify what is their most urgent thing that they want solved. Okay. Because there's a lot of things that would be nice to solve, it'd be great, maybe. But what you want for your course is what is that one thing that is super urgent? Like they really want this solved, they view it as urgent, and they are willing to, invest in solving that problem. So that is super important. And yeah, the positioning of the problem that you're solving and just kind of the course in general, I got to tell you, doing that Google survey for myself was absolutely invaluable because then I could really take a look and I could say, okay, so these are the things I thought were going to be super important to include. Maybe they're not as important. I might include them, but you learn really through that process what is most relevant to them and you can prioritize accordingly. So the key here is make sure you know your audience, do your homework. Even if you think trust me on this one, you want to do your homework and really ask, maybe interview people, really identify what is that that thing, that one or two ideally you're going to have one overarching problem that's the theme of the course that you're going to solve. And what is that? Ideally, it's something very urgent to your ideal client. We ready to go to number 2?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So let's go to let's go to the second one. So, okay, so after you figured out what your target market desperately wants solved, that is super important. The second tip that I want to share is, as we think about like this, what we call again the sales funnel. So as we think about, well, usually a successful sales funnel, it involves a process where, it might be like a lead magnet that you're sharing that's related to your paid course. You might decide to do maybe a webinar that's somehow related to the paid course. Sometimes, and I actually did this myself a couple of weeks ago, I did a 4-day live training series on how to create your own sales funnels. And I did that in a private Facebook group, right? So there's all different kinds of ways that we can basically get in front of our target audience. And then the goal in that sales funnel is to provide value, right? And in that phase of the funnel, we're also asking people to share their name and email address in exchange for whatever we're delivering, okay? And then that leads to what we call the upsell, right? Which, is that paid course that you're offering. So what I want to share here is that you really want to make sure that that free content that you're sharing, whether that be a PDF, a lead magnet, a webinar, some kind of a Facebook challenge, whatever it is, you just want to make sure that it provides value, okay? So you don't want to skimp out here. You really want to put your best foot forward and provide value. And guys, it's true, not everybody is going to buy, right? It's just a fact. But regardless, even if nobody buys, which if you do this right, that won't be the case, you still want to provide tremendous value, because what tends to happen, and I'm sure Kiki, you've probably been on these webinars before. I cringe when I think about it. And that is, you get on this webinar, it sounds really great, and then it's just like a big sales spiel, right? It's like, really? I can't believe I fell for that, It's just like a big sales job. And, the problem with that, it just doesn't provide value. And it makes your target audience feel kind of manipulated, right? So you don't want to be that person. You want to provide value, provide action steps, and it really puts you in a positive light. And it positions you to be a very established, provider. It really creates a sense of authority in the space that you're in. So that's definitely the second tip. Make sure that the free stuff in your sales funnel does provide value.
That's so important, as you say. And, if you are in a positive light, then regardless of how much you give, people will still want to pay you to get more. And so I think I'm so happy that you highlighted that versus, there is the line of thought that's sort of like, oh, just clarify the problem for them in a way that's interesting, and then sell your package. So what you're saying is actually help them with their problem. Like, don't hold back.
Yeah. No, I think you want to be strategic, right? You want to be cognizant that you're not solving the exact same things that you're going to solve in your paid course, right? So it is strategic, but it still needs you need to provide value. Otherwise, they're not going to be enticed to invest in your paid offer. So yeah, so that is the second tip. So let's move on to the third. So this one I really like, and I think everyone here, if you've been contemplating or kind of toying with creating a course, I think this one's going to be really powerful. And that is, you do not have to create your entire course before you begin selling it. I know that could sound like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But it's really true. You do not need to do that. In fact, I recommend that you don't do that. So often, what tends to happen, and I've seen this so many times over and over, is, like we have all these great ideas, it's hard to pick. We get kind of stuck in, first of all, I can't decide mode. And then the other thing that tends to happen is we get really intimidated about the idea of creating, let's say, like a 6-module course. And, we're busy like making everything perfect, making sure every handout is done and perfect, every script is written. Maybe we're, recording all the videos in advance, all these things. And we end up like it just never gets off the ground, right? So don't do that. In fact, there's a lot of reasons why you don't want to do that. We're going to talk more about that actually in the next tip. Here's the secret. As long as you know the subject matter of your course, how it's going to be broken down into each module, right? So I'd have the title of the course. I would have the modules. Like I do recommend that you have those laid out in terms of what each module, how you're going to title each of those. I like to know what handouts I'm going to use for each module. I do think that's important. We obviously need to know the price, and if you're offering any bonuses, you need to know that too. But pretty much that's it. Like you don't have to know every single thing yet, and you definitely don't have to have everything created before you actually begin to market your course. So does that take some of
Such a good tip.
the pressure off?
The stress, definitely. And actually, that reminds me of another tip another coach has shared with me, which is, and you sort of hinted at it, you can even say, oh, and there's going to be juicy surprises, and there's going to be, a mystery guest, or, because people love, like, we're all just children in adults' bodies, right? And so we
Right.
love like a good surprise and a good little treat. And so even if there is something that you're not quite sure that, you can grab in or whatever, actually phrasing it that way, where it's like, and there's going to be lots of great surprises, can actually be helpful for you, and then,
I like that.
for others.
I think that's a great way to position it. So this is a good segue into tip number 4. And I think you're going to love this one as well. Remember that I shared that I've witnessed this, and you may have witnessed this yourself, or maybe you are this person that, hunkered down, staying at home, creating like home study programs and hours and hours and hours of writing and recording and popping them onto their website, and then crickets, right? Super common scenario. And I've seen it happen to the best of us, truly. So what if I were to share how you could actually be paid to create a passive income product? Sounds pretty intriguing, right?
Definitely. Let me
So
know.
that's all right. So there's actually 2 ways that you can go about doing this. Okay, the first is to actually deliver your course live for the first time. So you're actually going to deliver the course live the first time. You'll simply record it, right, the entire time you're teaching. And then you're going to bundle up all of those recordings, your handouts, like all the different elements that are included in the course. And you're going to bundle that up and basically sell that as a home study product. So essentially, by using and repackaging the recordings, the videos, and the handouts, all the things that you've used, it's almost as if they're paying you to create a home study course, even though, you're basically just bundling up and selling the live recordings. So there's some nuances that you want to consider if you go that route. Especially things like confidentiality and things like that, right? So I don't claim to, be an expert in that area, but one little tip I can share, and I've kind of learned this myself over the years, is if I have an intention of bundling up and reselling the recordings, what I would recommend is that you save the Q&A for last, right? So that like it's just you teaching, and that's the part you're going to bundle up. And also you just want to be cognizant of making reference to specific dates, right? Because then, you might end up having to go back and re-record. But generally, I think this is a great strategy. And it's like you can rest assured that it is sold. And this is the nice thing too, and I do recommend, like, before you create a passive income or an evergreen type of course, I actually really think it's powerful to offer it live at least once before you turn it into evergreen. And this is a great way that you can kind of, like maybe you're good the first go, like you're really happy with how the course turned out and the recordings, then you can just bundle it up and sell it as a home study. Now, there's another way to go about this, and that is to basically you can pre-sell it. Okay. So a pre-sale is basically when you promote the entire program in detail and you'll let people know that it's going to be available on X date, right? So basically, you're doing the entire launch sequence, the entire sales funnel, launch sequence. You're getting people to sign up, just like you normally would for a live course. And then, assuming you get all the sales that you're expecting and some, you now have basically you're being prepaid to create the course and product that everybody's waiting for. And because the thing that's nice about that is, it definitely keeps you accountable, right? Keeps you on track. It's like, okay, I've pre-sold, now I got to deliver. And so that can be, I think, a really good strategy as well. So,
Perfect.
all
And
right.
oftentimes there's that saying that you work best when you're a little bit under the under there's a little bit of fire there, and so you might
Totally.
even be more productive and get things done faster when you have that bit of that healthy pressure.
I love it. Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. And I'll tell you what, the other reason I like this strategy is because you can be really nimble with your course curriculum. So, like, if you've got everything locked and loaded, everything like engraved in stone before you even offer it, you're not going to be able to change things up based on what you learned by delivering the course. Like, you might get in there and go, oh wow, I really like this part's great, this I need to add a couple things because I'm getting so many questions about it. If it's already pre-done, it really minimizes your ability to go back and perfect it. So I really like this strategy a lot. And you also know, if you're offering it live, you know that there's a demand, right? So you're not going to waste a ton of time and effort getting your evergreen funnel down for something that, maybe you kind of, maybe you missed the mark. Maybe you need to do a little more research, right? Maybe it just requires a few tweaks. So I think this, just don't get stuck with thinking, I've got to do it all in advance. I've got to pre-record everything. I say ditch that myth completely and do the opposite.
Such a good point. Thank you.
Okay, so strategy number 5. I like this one too. I think that the last tip I want to share is for you to consider doing a beta course. Okay. So essentially, what is a beta course? A beta course is basically when you offer your course to maybe a small subset of your audience. So, you basically, you make a decision that you want to do a beta because you want to get feedback, maybe you want to get testimonials, and you just don't want to do like all the big fanfare and like a really formalized launch process right out of the gate. So I think this can really take off some of that pressure for people that, they just kind of want to dip their toe in and just kind of see how it goes. What you do with a beta is you can hand invite, like, you just hand invite, specific people from your audience, right? Again, we're not like releasing all this to the public. You're just reaching out to individual people and saying, hey, I'm going to do this beta course. And I wondered if you would, be interested in participating. Here's the course, here's, the dates, blah, blah, blah. So you just get individual people on board with that. And then you're just not under so much pressure. And in return, so you're probably going to offer it at either a reduced fee or maybe free. It just depends. And in return, what you're asking for is for some really good constructive feedback on the course so that you can really perfect the course. And perhaps you're going to ask for testimonials if indeed they enjoy the course. So I do think that doing a beta could be a great option for many people as well.
I would 100% agree. I'm actually in the process of a beta myself, and definitely, as you say, it takes the pressure off, and it's a great way to at least just get started, and then know that you're going to have some great testimonials, or worst comes to worst, some really constructive feedback. So
exactly. Yep.
amazing.
So yeah, so those are my tips.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, I'm so happy that you gave us that that option versus just the one-on-one or the group programs. I think the course is such a an obvious, yet often people forget that it's an option for a really successful income stream. So really looking forward to trying out some of those myself. So thanks so much, Leslie. Until next
You're
month.
welcome. Okay. Bye, Kiki. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.